Storage auctions are mostly cardboard archaeology, old taxes, older treadmills, and whatever hope looks like, when it's packed in a box labeled fragile. But every so often, a row of red doors turns into a drum roll. That happened at Row C, Unit 17, the morning I decided to bid past my comfort zone. Hasn't been opened in 11 years, the manager said, like a fisherman talking about a rumor of a lake monster. The red lock came off with a snap, the corrugated door groaned upward, and the desert sun poured in, setting dust afloat. From the threshold we got 5 minutes, no stepping inside, no poking, no, just a quick look. Auction law is a religion, and this was the silence before the hymn. I saw boxes, a leaning metal shelf, a floor jack on its side. Then my eyes adjusted, and my mouth forgot what to do. At the back of the unit, a heavy gray tarp draped itself over something with shoulders. Not a couch, not a boat. Its outline was long hood, short deck poetry. And at the very front corner, where the tarp didn't quite touch concrete, 2 white lines crossed at a soft angle, stripes, faded to chalk. Probably a kit car, someone muttered. Probably just junk, another said, because that's safer than hope. Opening at 600, the auctioneer sang. A reseller with a sunburn said 8. I said 1,000 because my gut said talk before my brain could object. It went to 15, too. 28. We were at $3,000 and I was already hearing my future self telling me I'd made an expensive mistake. Then I heard the thing you sometimes hear right before a good story starts, my own voice saying, 30 to 100. Silence. A forklift beeped somewhere far away. The straw hat to my left breathed in like he might say, 33, and then let it out like a balloon surrendering its last air. Sold to number 49 for $3,200. They handed me the cutter for the interior security tag like it was a sword. I snipped it, grabbed the tarp's dusty hem, and told the camera, if this is a mattress, I'm going to cry on it. The tarp didn't resist, it released, sliding off in slow folds, until a nose appeared, flat and purposeful, with a thin chrome bumper and a grille that could only belong to one family tree. Round headlights. A split by the emblem mount. I tugged again and stripes emerged across the hood like ghosts of intent. 69 Camaro. Not just any, either. The more fabric fell, the more my pulse insisted I be careful with the words in my mouth. The stripes weren't the wrong kind. They ran over a cowl hood and down the valance. The front spoiler was there. The wheels, true rallies, war-crusted tires that hadn't seen air since phones had cords. On the fender, beneath dust and life, I traced the faint, italic Z28 emblem with a finger up and felt my brain go briefly to static. Okay, I told the camera, and then, because honesty is a superstition with me, this could be a Z28, or it could be the most optimistic clone in Arizona. Both truths exists. One of them costs money. The other costs you your pride on the internet. First rule, facts. Inside smelled like old vinyl and thin gasoline. The interior was black, with the wood grain trim that tries to convince you late 60s plastic is walnut. A 140 mph speedo and an 8,000 RPM touch stared back. See, 28 hallmarks, though not proofs. Center console with the 4 little auxiliary gauges stacked like espresso cups. The Hearst shifter knob had the ghost of a pattern on it, the kind of where you can't fake with sandpaper and ambition. I popped the cowl hood and propped it on a rod that sighed like a patient's prayer. The engine bay was all there, no carb, but the winter's aluminum high-rise intake wore the snowflake logo like jewelry. Deep groove pulleys, the big brake booster, the curved neck radiator. I wiped a corner of the intake pad and read 3,927,184, right for an aluminum Z28 intake. My hands were shaking for the one that matters, the little machined pad in front of the passenger head, stamped with an engine code. I scraped gently with a razor blade corner and a toothbrush. Letters surfaced out of time. V10 to 5DZ. Flint, October the 25th, DZ suffix, the 302 cubic inch, solid lifter, for bolt main heart of a real deal, 69Z, 28. Don't scream, I told myself on camera. Just breathe. VIN next. On Camaros, you check the plate at the windshield, but the cowl tag and hidden stamps tell the orchestra which instruments are lying. The dash VIN read 1243799N, 1 equals Chevrolet, 2 equals Camaro, 4 equals V8, 37 equals Coupe, 9 equals 1969, and equals Norwood Assembly. Good music so far. The cowl tag on the firewall read, Nor, and a trim code for black standard interior. The paint code was 71, lemons blue originally, resprayed badly to hugger orange sometime, in the 90s, judging by the dull, cracking lacquer and the way blue peaked at seams. The magic line was at the bottom right of the tag, X33. On Norwood, 69S, X33 means a Z28 with style trim. X77 would be a plainer Z28. I said the word I'd been holding, Z. I still didn't let myself celebrate. Clones wear borrowed tags and good intentions. The real test is matching numbers. And the cruel part is sometimes you can't tell in a storage aisle. The full story would have to wait for a lift and a mirror to chase hidden stamps on the block and the subframe. But the engine pad with DZ, the X33, the tatch, the console gauges, the deep groove hardware, the 12-bolt rear with a finned cover, every detail kept shouting the same song. We inventoried the unit like librarians. Boxes labeled GM, Delco held tune-up kits with date codes I could barely read without T and Google. A metal drawer had a Protecto plate, the little warranty card with metal embossing that acts like a time traveler's VIN decoder. Under engine, the tiny raised numbers matched the block serial. I sat right there on a crate for a minute and let my breath catch up. Why do cars like this end up in limbo? The next crate told me. Receipts from 1995-2002, all from the same local shop. Clutch, rear main seal. Customer declines valve lash, too noisy. We laughed because Z28s with their mechanical lifters are noisy, but to someone used to vacuum cleaner V6s, it sounds like doom. Then, a note, owner deployed, vehicle stored. A name, M. Salazar. A PO box. Then nothing. Fees paid to the storage facility like clockwork for a decade. And then, 11 months ago, a stop. We got it rolling. The right rear was welded to the drum with time. We backed off the adjuster with a curse and a screwdriver. The front calipers were as willing as habit. We skated it out into the sunlight on Goyax and gravity. In real light, flaws show mercy or teeth. This one showed both. The lower fenders had the bubbles every first-gen Camaro grows when people wash them like children and then never dry the seams. The floor pans, sound with light surface freckles. The trunk, enter a mat that looked like a retired welcome mat, had the original spatter paint in a space where a spare once did its duty. The panel gaps were better than my best projects, and worse than a museum piece. In other words, a car I don't do. First start in the parking lot, for views. If we were going to wake a 300 to that had been asleep longer than some of you have been alive, we'd do it gently. We loaded the Camaro with straps around suspensions and subframes, never sheet metal, said nice things to the gods of .3 and old gasoline, and took it to the shop, where hope smells like brake cleaner. Step 1 is always look, listen, and promise you won't be stupid. We pulled the plugs and fogged the cylinders with a mist of Marvel mystery oil because there's no such thing as too much superstition. We hand-turned the crank with a big breaker bar. It moved. No clunk. No metal on metal accusation. We drained the oil. It left the pan like coffee that had lost the will to be liquid, but there were no sparkles. We filled with fresh 10W30 plus zinc, because flat tappet cams are picky old divas, and you feed them like they're stars. Fuel is where you decide whether to risk your eyebrows. The tank had varnish. We dropped it. Inside looked like a science project. We sent it to a radiator shop that still understands words like boil out and seal. While it was gone, we rigged a small temporary fuel cell with a filter you could read the newspaper through, ran a clear line to watch for panic, and put a rebuilt Holley 780 on that winter's intake because no, I wasn't trusting a carb that remembered Y to K. Valve covers off. The rockers looked dry but honest. We ran them through the lash dance. Solid lifter set to the feel you only learn after doing it wrong enough times to apologize to engines in your sleep. 030. Hot is the spec. 0 to 6030. Cold is the myth. We aired toward kindness. New plugs. Fresh wires. A Pertronics to ditch points for now. Don't at me. We'll go back to points for period correct after we know it runs. New cap. New rotor. And a fire extinguisher on each side within smug reach. Moment. Ignition. I said. Like that changes physics. The dash lights did their little Christmas impersonation. I tapped the throttle twice. Smelled fuel arrive. Then bumped the starter. The 300 to coughed once like a smoker about to tell you a joke. Second bump, it caught. The sound at 900 rounds per minute was a sewing machine that had eaten a leopard. Tick 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 from the lash, a crisp, hollow bass note from the headers into a rusty H-pipe, and the smell of varnish memories, and new oil making friends. Oil pressure built to a clean 45 psi at idle. The alternator light winked out like a wink you are going to tell your friends about later. We let it warm. Leaks. A weep at the fuel inlet we snugged. A damp corner at the timing cover we noted. Nothing scary. We shut it down, sat on the shop floor, and laughed the laugh you only earn after too many near misses, and not enough perfect days. Okay, the question you always ask us, money. Comps are a moving target, and clones haunt.